Josh in Texas. You're on with Jamie and Alex, a.k.a. Cosmic Skeptic. What did you want to talk about today?
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Josh Brister with Red Pill Religion. We're another debate channel. I wanted to know on what basis would y'all possibly believe in God? Because I was listening to the last caller, I forgot what his name is, but it seems that you should listen to common sense. That seems to be the theme, that the cosmological, teleological, and moral argument, we live as though God does exist. Since you already do live as
I'm
though
actually
God
not sure about that. Here, Josh, hold on one second. So, I stopped myself from interrupting you when you said, "What would it take for you to believe in God?" The clarifying question is, which God?
Let me answer that since you asked a question.
Okay.
I would say God is the greatest conceivable being with no room for potentiality.
So conceivable by whom? Because people's imaginations vary.
I'm sorry, say again?
You said the greatest conceivable, right? Like that's an action of a person thinking about what a God is.
Like anything you could think of God.
Me specifically, or
that would be God.
Can I just jump in and say that I don't think existence is a predicate, so I don't think that that the greatest conceivable being necessarily has to exist.
Indeed, I'm not using it as a predicate. Alvin Plantinga's ontological argument, I'm not even using that ontological argument. Maximal existence would be, God would have to exist maximally since he would exist in all possible ways.
Sorry, as far as I'm aware, existence is a binary quality.
But that goes against the crude ontological argument, not Alvin Plantinga's concept, maximal cause.
You've got a bit of a problem, because if you're going to say that there's a possibility of a maximal being existing, and therefore in some possible universe, in some possible world, there is a maximally great being. However, if there is a maximally great being, then it exists in all possible worlds. It's self-contradictory. You can't say that.
How's that contradictory? But be aware that that's not even my argument. My argument is from a commonsensical perspective, and at the you should know this. At the University of Oxford, the former he just passed away. Daniel Robinson, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that in his lecture series.
No, I'm not.
No, but what did he say?
He brings up Thomas Reid, the great Christian philosopher that went against David Hume and his skepticism towards the existence of God and miracles. And
in what way?
Robinson basically argues that common sense is something we should take into account when we're trying to see if these arguments are plausible or not.
Okay, can we try and codify this a little bit? Like, what's because you've said a few times now, well, that's not what I'm arguing. So what are you arguing? Let's hear it. Can you lay it out in some kind of syllogistic form so we can hear what your actual point is?
I'm saying that there's a cumulative case, and I piggyback on the last caller, a cumulative case why these arguments, for example, the cosmological, teleological, and moral argument, seem more plausible than their negations. So it seems to me that the wise person, the wise atheist, would no longer be an atheist, but be a theist.
There's only a cumulative case if the individual components of that accumulate to make your case individually are sound.
Not at all. I talked to Graham Oppie about this. In fact, I had a debate online with him, and I even referenced his book.
Oh, okay. Just Josh, real quick. Sorry, because I think you started to answer before Alex finished what his question was. So you may have.
No, I think it's fine, but I will just mention, like, I don't particularly care who you've spoken to. I want to know what you think.
Well, Dr. Graham Oppie is probably the most sophisticated atheist in the world.
Well, so good for him, but like he's not calling in.
He talks about cumulative case. And but Alex, when we look at something, we don't believe something just on the basis of one argument or one reason, but a cumulative amount of reasons.
That's right.
So why aren't you a theist based on these arguments that they're more plausible in each case than than their negation.
Because the things that I believe, while cumulative, the individual components of that cumulative case
But that's
all
not
are...
how you live life.
So exactly the same thing has happened twice, which is you haven't listened to the end of the statement, which I believe is the source of the confusion here.
Look,
because
you can't. So if you're going to say, so you say you piggyback off the last caller, and you're talking about the cosmological argument and the teleological argument. I don't buy these arguments, and if I don't buy those arguments, then they cannot be contained within a cumulative case towards the existence of God.
All right, so you believe that things can literally come into existence without a cause? That's like magic. Is atheism therefore magic?
No, but
No, go ahead, please.
I was going to say, so your argument predicates that you must have a belief about something rather than being able to hold a position of not asserting a belief about something. So what you've said is, but if it's not this, it must be this other thing that is ridiculous. And
I'm saying the wise person will think that things that begin to exist has a cause.
Yeah, I'm familiar with you saying it's wise to believe this and not, but that's not really an argument about the thing. It's more like you saying, you're wrong or silly to think otherwise. But it comes down to the same thing, which is something that's called the argument from personal incredulity, which is I don't understand how a person could be wise and believe this. It is. The form of your argument follows this. Because it's, if it's you don't believe this, it must be that which is ridiculous. That is, in essence, a textbook example of I
don't think so. In everyday life, you live as though that things that begin to exist have causes. It's just when we get to the beginning of the
we've
universe,
never seen something that began to exist. Yeah, we've never seen something that began to exist.
Well, give me an example of something beginning to exist.
Big Bang cosmology, the majority consensus by far is that the universe had a beginning about 14 billion years ago at the Big Bang.
Okay, but
is atheism going to believe in magic and discount that?
Look, before we get no, I don't think anybody here has quite discounted that the universe had a beginning around 13.8 billion years ago.
Then how do you account for it, Alex?
Well, look,
because what you said is in your day-to-day life. Sorry for jumping in here.
It's fine.
Yeah, can you name something that you believe began to exist, or that we've seen begin to exist, that is encountered, as you said, in your day-to-day life?
The universe.
Okay,
the universe
but you can't. Okay, but you can't begin there because your argument is that the universe had a cause, right? The argument is that the universe had a cause, and the reason you're going to have to let me finish here. Look, if the argument is the universe has a cause, and the reason that you're using to justify that is the fact that everything that begins to exist has a cause, and I say, well, give me an example of something that begins to exist, and you say the universe. That is the definition of a circular argument.
Well, it's common sense when the majority of physicists say the beginning.
Common sense can be foolish.
Hold on, let me finish
and
now.
It's not all that common.
If it began to exist, you're going to have to postulate that something brought it into existence. And I have a positive argument for this. Here's the positive argument. The only way that a temporal effect can come from a timeless and changeless state of affairs, and yes, I'm piggybacking on William Lane Craig's scholarship, is if the cause is a personal agent endowed with freedom of the will.
How do you know
that, Alex?
How do you know?
The negation of that is to say it popped into existence without a cause. That's atheism. That's magic.
It's neither of those things. Sorry if I can jump in here. So no, what you're saying is the negation of that is this. So when you talk about the negation of something, you're talking about the other half of a dichotomy. The negation of, oh no, the universe was created in XYZ way is, oh no, the universe was not created in XYZ way. It is not the assertion or conclusion that the universe was created, by 1, 2, 3 way. Sorry for cutting across the actual specific argument, because I'm pointing out that at its core, even without the specific parts, it is logically flawed to the point where until we address the logical flaws, it's not. I know, because I'm not sure that you're critically examining the logical structure of your argument.
Oh, come on. No one with common sense would say things can literally pop into existence.
What makes you say that? Can you define common sense?
What we have a necessity to believe. That's how Thomas Reid defined it in his book, An Inquiry into the Human Mind.
When you're talking about things, hold on, because there's a point of clarification. You're talking about common sense is you're saying is what's necessary is what's necessary to believe.
I want your guests to look up common sense realism.
Yeah. So just very quickly.
By the University of Aberdeen.
Here's what I'll say. I'm sure he will, and this isn't the only format in which people can interact. The internet is great and vast. Yeah, that's an interesting thing to do on my channel. But what I will say is, I've lost. The clarifying thing is in your definition of common sense. You said things that it is necessary for us to believe. Can you?
That the dictates of live life. This is what this is what Thomas Reed says. Not just me, Thomas Reed.
Okay, so that's cool. I've never met the man. It doesn't matter who said it, and there's very, very limited time, and I don't want you to get cut off if you cite everything, because citing your sources and giving credit to the people that came before you, excellent, and I applaud that, and I understand why you're doing it. My co-host is trying to get my attention and see if
would y'all like to convert to theism?
I mean, whether or not I would like to believe something is irrelevant.
I want to abide by what's true. That's all it is. Look, I will just make a point as well that's worth considering. You're making the assertion that it's foolish to believe that something can come from nothing. That itself is an assertion that requires justification. You have never had any access to nothing.
You live your life like that.
Hold on. There is no nothing in the universe, okay? There is no point in the universe at which there is truly nothing. Even if you suck out all of the atoms and radiation and everything of a point of space, it still weighs something. There's something there. So you can't say.
Philosophers speak of this, Alex. You're speaking like a hard-nosed scientist.
Some don't.
Yeah. And right now we're speaking about it. So why don't we use words that describe the thing we're speaking about?
All I'm saying is at the University of Oxford, the late Daniel Robinson referenced Thomas Reed, and you can find his lecture series on YouTube.
Yeah.
Common sense realism is the ultimate defeater to atheism.
Yeah, and at the University of Oxford, I think he's wrong. What's your point?
So what I will say is, sorry,
aren't you a student there?
I hate that I hate that we have to switch guests. Josh, I'm gonna go ahead and throw you back on hold because I'm not sure.
Absolutely.
How much?
Hey, it's nice talking to y'all.
Yeah, and you have a phone number, all of these things.
I know it can get a little rowdy, but you know what? I respect y'all.
I think I talked over you. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think I talked over you more than you talked over me, but that's just the natural course of events when you're in a conversation with me.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna throw you on hold and an open invitation to any of the people that you named talking about any of the things to call the show or meet with me privately and explain those. But thank you for calling in, Josh.
Thank you.
And also, anyone that does anything with philosophy in Oxford University, and if I take any longer, Eric might have to find a new co-host, because I'll be dead.